Cogent Technology Limited, based in Woodbridge, Suffolk, provide contract electronic manufacturing services specialising in the medical sector. As the company holds ISO 9001, ISO 13485 and ISO 14001 accreditations, traceability of components is paramount to the business. In 2002, their previous MRP software licence was due for renewal. They reviewed the market and came across 123insight, but at that time chose to stay with their existing provider.
We're quietly impressed by the relative simplicity of the system that we'd seen and came away thinking very hard about it, but we decided after further consideration, primarily because 123 seemed to be very young at the time, but also probably because we had other priorities in developing the business at the time, focused around capital expenditure, etc. So we decided to stick where we were with the existing product for another 3-year period. License came for renewal again, but this time the costs were going to be much higher because the back-end database that it sat on wasn't going to be supported any longer, so our investment was going to be fairly significant, even just to stay with our existing system, which by this time was beginning to look a little bit clunky and archaic by modern standards. So we reviewed the system again, and we're mindful of our previous experience looking at 123. We'd assigned Michael Charlesworth, our engineering manager, to look at all the systems on the market and sent him to a 123 workshop, which he trudged off to somewhat reluctantly.
At the time, back in 2008, we'd been running an existing system which wasn't meeting our needs, and for the medical sector that we were working in, there were a number of things that it didn't do. So we had an add-on database system that ran alongside our existing MRP database, which filled the gaps. Unfortunately, the resource that developed that decided to leave the company, so that left us with a quandary at the same time as changing MRP systems in how do we support the extra sort of systems that we've built up on and were working really well. So when we went out to market, we were actually approaching companies to see how they could fill the gap that was going to be created by taking our old system away. Quite quickly found out that even the top-end software couldn't actually cope with our requirements on the standard system, and that any system we implemented would need a reasonably significant amount of customisation. Went along to the open day for 123insight quite reluctantly, because I had been sort of previously looking at very expensive systems with lots and lots of features and customisability, and we're going to look at 123, which was the simplest to use, but also it seemed before I went on the open day that it was quite limited in what they'd be able to provide for us. Speaking with Craig and Guy at the open day, some potential synergy to improve 123 and also provide us with the extra functionality that we required for our business came about, and discussions following that open day, we decided that 123 was the way to go.
By the time we'd analysed all the different offerings from different providers, we had a range of prices, and we were looking at the cost over a 10-year period. Was fair to say that the fact that the subscription basis for 123 was attractive insofar as, you know, we're a contract manufacturer, so we flex along with demand. That's our role in life, is to vary resources according to the demands of our customers, and so we don't have to worry about that. So if we've got a system that can contract and expand in line with business needs, that takes a lot of risk out for us. It also meant that we didn't have to go and secure funding, which would have detracted from our ability to invest in capital equipment, etc., to grow our business. So when we looked at the costs over a 10-year period, there were costs that were more than 123, and there were costs that were similar to 123. But 123 was the only system whereby the vendor was committing to integrate all of the features that we've developed in-house for shop floor data collection. We needed to be compliant with ISO 13485 for our medical device manufacture, and it was important to us that our vendor was going to support those features and that they weren't just a bespoke add-on that wouldn't necessarily be maintained as that vendor's product evolved over time.
Michael also took advantage of the multimedia DVD, which contains role-based videos that allow key staff to see functionality relevant to their departments. The company sent staff to the 6 days of no-obligation user training in July 2008 and performed in-house training using the provided electronic documentation. Nigel felt that this delivered several benefits, including managers training their own staff, which gave them a sense of ownership. Cogent implemented the software to facilitate data transfer, whilst working simultaneously with 123insight on the advanced serial tracking development. Once all of the necessary functionality was available, they went live across all departments in April 2009.
The implementation process with 123 was a slightly more extended process than most users would be used to, because of the amount of changes that we were needing to implement in the core system. By the time that the new major release of 123 was available, we'd been beta testing the changes one by one in-house, and once enough of the features were available that we were happy to go live, we actually went live, I think it was the April 2009, and that process was actually quite streamlined, as we'd already done it several times before on a non-live database.
Cogent also switched to Access Dimensions account software at the same time to take advantage of the tight integration between Access and 123insight.
It was seamless, required no extra transfer of information. There wasn't a process you had to do in order to port information across into the account system. It happened live and seamlessly. And also then, from 123, people who need to know about the status of a supplier or the status of a customer in regards to their account, such as our account managers and our purchasing team, they can see that through their porthole of 123 without having to refer to our accounts department or have a license to our accounting package.
The 123insight Software Development Kit, or SDK, has also provided Cogent with an easy and safe way to pass data between systems. It provides a common gateway that doesn't change as versions of 123insight change, so Cogent can be confident that the links that they build, which push data into 123insight, will not need to be significantly reworked when they upgrade. The kit consists of a suite of SQL stored procedures and documentation that a developer can use when linking their application to 123insight.
We use the SDKs to transfer information from external test equipment that's computer driven and put those results directly into 123 without having to have the inefficiency of double typing and double entering the information. And we also integrate with some of the bill of materials and part master information to some other external systems as well.
Cogent also use CRM across their sales department and plan to utilise it to control various other areas.
In terms of proper true CRM processes, we're only really using it as a sales tool at the moment, but the idea is when time allows, we do want to broaden that out as a full business tool. We've got a lot of quality processes we want to put into CRM and a lot of sort of business centred processes, which at the moment are sort of either paper-based or a little disjointed, and we think we'll get a lot more control out of using CRM to drive our business.
Tablet computers, barcode readers and touchscreens are now also used across the shop floor to quickly move products between locations and processes with minimal data entry whilst maintaining serial number traceability. Rolling stock checks can be performed quickly using the tablets, and large LCD screens also display production information on the shop floor exported directly from 123insight. Since going live, Cogent has discovered many benefits across the business. 123insight's ability to email purchase orders, invoices and dispatch notes, along with associating documents with given part numbers, has been of great use. one-to-many relationships, for example unlimited vendors per part or unlimited price breaks, where previously they were limited to 3 of each, has also been extremely useful.
Using 123 and the detail and extended implementation phase with 123 sort of gave us a lot more in-house knowledge of exactly what information we needed for our business and how we were using that information. Whereas previously we had an MRP system and we just put numbers in the boxes that it told us to put numbers in and didn't really understand where that information went afterwards. You know, we've gained a lot more power, I think, in terms of how we use the system and what information's in it and being able to extract it and manipulate it for the benefit of the business.
Cogent has been very proactive in working with 123insight, attending several user groups and open days. During these events, they've networked with several other 123insight customers within the electronics industry, and as a direct result of these introductions, has seen over £1 million of new business.
I think the real sort of golden moment was last year when there was all of the functionality we asked for and some of it which we forgot to ask for in the software. You know, and we felt then that we had actually achieved everything we set out to achieve.
What we've experienced is, I think, fairly unique in terms of the relationship between us setting the requirements, conveying those to 123 and their technical staff to implement. 123 telling us how they're going to implement that and actually delivering what they said they were going to do. It's fair to say that yes, we've shared that with the rest of the world, and we know that the 123 customer base has expanded in our sector of the market, but there's been benefits to us in that as well, because it means that they've come up with enhancements that suit us. It also means that we're dealing with prospects who are using 123, and we've in fact done business with people because we've spoken about 123. So it's a kind of growing community of 123 users that I think is really going to add strength going forward.